You're off to college. You're 19. You go to a party and maybe you drink a little bit too much. You count on your classmates, your campus, your friends, your people to have your back. But what happens when the person walking you home is the one you need to fear the most? This is the story of Kristin Smart, a bright, athletic freshman at Cal Poly who vanished after a college party in May of 1996. It took 26 years, a podcast, and a father's unbreakable love to bring her suspect, potentially killer, to justice. But even now, Kristen hasn't been found, and the man convicted of her killing, he says he's innocent. But let's rewind and introduce ourselves. What do you think of that?
Nice.
Well, not nice isn't like I did a nice job.
Yes, that's what I
The
meant.
case, not so nice.
No, I meant you did well.
Why, thank you. And the voice you're hearing, it's me, it's Matt, it's Beardlaws, and joining me is the Dun Queen, the beautiful, the wonderful, the mysterious Meg. I was trying to think of a word that began with M to tie in Meg. It was marvelous or mysterious, and I went mysterious. What's up, Meg? It's toasty out there.
It's hot.
Got them new purple sandals.
Sure do.
It is. It is North Country hot up here, and we survived quite a little North
built
Country.
for this.
No, when it's 40 last week, and then it jumps up to 90 with a heat index of 100. Yes, I know, Arizona, Texas, Georgia, and all those other places. I take 87. Yeah, come up here when it's cold. Bet you won't.
We're just not used to it. And it's only a couple months of the year that we have the warm weather, so we're just not adapt for it.
We're not adapt like the
We don't have the clothing for it. We don't have the equipment for it.
Nope. Our heating season turns to AC season overnight.
My poor plants have been frosted last week and then scorched this weekend.
It's unbelievable. Welcome to the North Country.
It'll probably snow on Tuesday,
It's not. It's not. We're in it.
You never know.
There's 12 seasons of North Country weather, and we finally hit summer and the end of June.
Mm.
But let's rewind a little
Making
bit.
for some wild storms. I'll say that.
That is true. That is true. Back to the case, Meg.
Back to the case.
We were all 18, 19 years old, going off to college. I probably partied harder than anybody else in the studio. Drank a little too much and trusted on people to get me home. And it worked out for me.
I was 17.
You were 17, and female and male are different dynamics in the college world. You're out there, you're finding your own. You're finally on your own, no parents, no supervision. And then all of the core values that have been instilled in your brain start to come out. And unfortunately, sometimes you end up with a terrible story like this. But we're going to go the night that Kristen disappeared. And this is something I hadn't heard of before I started doing research. And you said you didn't either, right?
Mm-mm.
And it's kind of some new developments potentially in the case. So I thought it was a good opportunity to bring light to this case and the way that it was found and everything. So May 24th, 1996. Meg is a little bit older than me, in double digits in 96, hitting those teenage years almost in May. And I'm not quite there yet. But either way, it was Memorial Day weekend. Kristin Smart, originally from Stockton, California, had been a student at California Polytechnic State University. That's a tough one. Probably a cool little abbreviation for that. I don't know. In St. Louis Obispo for just under a year. Friends said she was outgoing, energetic, loved swimming, and was planning a career in architecture or maybe international studies. But that Friday night, she went to a party at the 135 Crandall Way, a known off-campus house party spot near the university. Kristen didn't bring a purse, money, or ID, which is typical for a quick little hangout, having some beverages. Witnesses say she may have consumed alcohol there, though she wasn't really known to be a heavy drinker. Around 2 a.m., May 25th, Kristen was seen leaving the party with fellow student Paul Flores and another classmate, Cheryl Anderson. Flores had a reputation. Multiple female students later said he made them very uncomfortable, often coming on a little bit too strong. Cheryl peeled off from the group as they neared the dorms. Paul told police he walked Kristen to her dorm, Muir Hall. I don't know what that is. Sorry to the people that went to there and probably the family that it's named after, and left her safely at the door. Except no one ever saw her again.
Dun, dun, dun.
There it is. The Dun Dun Queen strikes again.
I think I forgot last time.
It's okay. In your defense, I did accidentally call you the Dun Dun King, so...
Strong strike.
Yeah. What's your initial thoughts on this? Flores, not Flores. Did you bring her there? You got to think 90s, not a lot of camera technology. You know what I mean? Not getting camera footage on the dorms, leaving the party, cell phones. And this story is kind of like a couple others that we've seen in some other cases where a couple of people leave, one branches off, next thing you know, crime.
I don't think I know enough yet.
My gut instantly says, Brian. He's got a reputation.
Yeah.
But I have to imagine nobody just disappeared. So maybe Brian isn't the guy, or maybe he escalated. But we don't know yet. Mm-hmm. Let's fast forward just a little bit. 3 days later, Kristin Smart was officially reported missing. Why the delay? Well, because campus police reportedly dismissed early concerns from her friends, assuming she was just off on a trip or partying. Which I have to imagine, not, kind of play devil's advocates here. I'm sure campus police sees things like this all the time. You know what I mean? If they were to report hey, we hadn't seen somebody, we hadn't seen a college student in a day or two, I'm sure that stuff happens. You know what I mean? You go to a party, you meet somebody, maybe you go to their house, their dorm, you don't go back to your dorm. That stuff happens. But 3 days later, Jack, that would be a good band name.
3 days later?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, it just made me think of another band.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't until May 29th that San Luis Obispo County Sheriff, don't love saying this name, they took over on the investigation, no longer on the old campus police. But by then, unfortunately, critical hours and days had passed. And as anybody knows that's into true crime and watches stuff on, the internet, the first 24 hours are crucial. And at this point, we're probably at least, 4 or 5 days?
Yeah.
Ugh. Flores, again, was interviewed, not arrested. He claimed he had a black eye from a basketball game. Investigators found inconsistencies and scratches, but without a body or, physical evidence, they unfortunately didn't have enough to charge him. Flores is feeling sneaky, Played a lot of basketball. I don't know about scratches. Yeah. So then, cadaver dogs alerted the Flores mattress. His dorm was searched months later. Witnesses claimed his behavior after the disappearance was off. But again, without forensic evidence, the leads dried up. And you have to remember, this is the 90s. Not a lot of great technology. Better than the 70s and 80s, but still not a lot of things. And thankfully, we're in a time now, advanced technology is starting to be able to help solve some older cases and bring what justice they're able to. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in this case, 1996, Meg, turned to 2021.
Ugh,
just a cold case. Cold case. That happened to us. I feel old. It's 2025. I feel like it was still 2000. Anyways. And what's one thing that we always see in these cases?
The family. The
family. The ma. The dad. Usually it's a ma or somebody, but this one, it's a father's. And man, did this father fight. I'm going to tell you right now, I do the same darn thing. And then there was a little bit of a podcast because her father and this podcast changed everything. Kristen's parents, Stan and Denise Smart, they never gave up. They pushed the university. They held vigils. They sued. They raised awareness and billboards in the Kristin Smart Campus Security Act, which was signed into California law in 1998. But the breakthrough, it didn't come from law enforcement. It came from a podcast, Meg. Mm-hmm. We've seen this not a lot, but enough, where some of these super talented podcasters, they get a story, they dig in deep, and they're able to help bring what could be some justice. And this one's pretty cool, because in 2019, freelance journalist Chris Lambert launched Your Own Backyard, a meticulously researched podcast focused entirely on Kristen's disappearance. It revived public interest and uncovered new witnesses and their statements, including one woman, Meg, who claimed Paul Flores had actually confessed to her. I thought you were going with a double dun-dun, but why did it take so long for this woman to all of a sudden have this confession? That's a lot of guilty conscience, right? Obviously, the podcast skyrocketed, and that one tripped me up. Skyrocketed in popularity, topping charts, and it brought the national attention back to a 23-year-old case. Behind the scenes, detectives were quietly executing search warrants, including at Paul Flores' home, his father Ruben's property. I love a good Reuben sandwich. What's the first thing that when you see? What are the first 2 or 3 things when you see the word Reuben?
American Idol.
That's the second for me. I think I go Reuben sandwich. Reuben stuttered. Is that the guy's name?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a third.
I also had a dog named Reuben.
So there's 3.
Basset Hound.
Ooh, sorry, squirrel. And even digging up parts of Reuben's property. And then, Meg, April 13th, 2021. In a major breakthrough, Paul Flores was arrested for Kristin Smart's murder. His father, Reuben Flores, was charged with being an accessory, accused of helping to hide the body. Prosecutors alleged that Kristin's remains had been buried under the deck behind Reuben Arroyo Grande home for years before it was moved. Then on October 18th, 2022, after a lengthy and emotionally grueling trial, Paul Flores was convicted of first-degree murder based on the following evidence. Cadaver dogs alerting at Reuben's deck, soil stained with human blood beneath the home. Witnesses who describe Paul's history of violence and alleged assaults. But there's always a but, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reuben Flores was found not guilty, a blow to the Smart family, who believed he had helped his son cover it up. What do you think, Meg? I mean, I have to imagine, and again, this is our opinions. This isn't anything to do with the case. We're not the podcast out here doing the deep research. We're throwing out our opinions. I mean, a son just doesn't randomly come home with a body, able to hide it, unless maybe the dad is old, can't hear, can't see. I don't know. I find it hard to believe.
Yeah.
I mean, Steven Wilson Jr. just came up with a song, Dig a Hole, and he tells us all, dig a hole, that song I was playing the other day.
Yeah.
How hard it is to dig a hole.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think one man's doing this.
You got to think there's probably an odor. So.
I would have to imagine. All right, let's fast forward to March 10th, 2023, a week before St. Patty's Day 2003. Do you remember where you were? Because I sure don't, but Paul Flores sure does, because he was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Kristen's mother, Denise, said in court, "You now belong to us, Paul. Every Mother's Day, you'll remember what you did. Every Christmas, you'll think of her. Every birthday, every moment of joy will be tainted by what you took from us." And unfortunately, there still hasn't been a body that has been recovered, and Flores continues to maintain his innocence. October 2024, according to KSBY News. Let me do my news voice. Ready? According to KSBY News. I don't like it. Paul Flores filed an appeal to reverse his conviction, claiming procedural issues and insufficient evidence. As of this recording, that appeal still remains pending.
Huh.
What's your thoughts before we get into the outro, Meg?
He did it.
Yeah, I think he did.
Pa helped.
Pa helped. Oh, Reuben. He's probably the third thing that I think of now with Reuben. Sandwich. Stuttered. Murder or accomplish. Alleged. Again, none of us were there. We don't really know. But it just seems weird. In a case like this, even in the 90s with technology and everything else, there's usually more than one. But if they are able to make an arrest, they got enough. And if his appeal and his attorneys are just saying insufficient evidence and procedural issues, to me, my opinion, that screams guilty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, if he did do this, he pays the time, as he should. Because, unfortunately, Kristin Smart, she should have graduated, Meg, in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
Had things to worry about with year 2K. Today, she should be 47. But instead, her memory lives on in legislation, in podcasts, in every family that tells their daughters to walk in groups and be careful who offers to walk them home. That hit pretty hard, especially having a house full of girls.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Justice, though, for Kristen came late, and for her family, it remains incomplete without answers. But her story reminds us that cold cases, they don't stay cold forever. Not when people keep asking questions. Not when a podcast microphone can do what decades of silence couldn't. Shout out to that podcast. Shout out to the parents and father for just never ending. All the police and everybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't imagine. And to anybody that's got kids getting ready to go to college, maybe going to college, graduation season is upon us up here. Remind them, walk in groups. Don't be dumb. I actually saw a tip the other day that if you're lost in the woods, you think you're in danger, like your phone could die, could go missing, to change your voicemail to the last location or where you are. So that way when people call the phone to try to see if it rings, this and that, check the location, they'll know. I don't know how prevalent it is now in 2025. I think they could see the last spot, but maybe it could lead to some clues. Say as much as you can in a voicemail. I'm here. This is what I'm seeing. This is what at that time. Thought that was worth sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing is caring.
It's a good idea.
Any final thoughts?
No.
No? Want to do it again next week?
Sure.
All right. Let's go do some cannonballs, huh?
Yes, please.
Oh, is that what Cannonball Run means? Oh,
Maybe.
I think that's what it means.
Okay.
To everybody else, enjoy your week, your day, your month, your year. Stay hydrated. And check out all the friends of the show in the description. You might see a new little friend down there eventually. And if you're watching this on the YouTube, we got a new background. We're going to start putting some friends of the shows in the background of the shelf that we got here that was made by the old man. Shout out Kenrod. We're going to put some fun stuff right over my shoulder, like here, so you can look at them, get some subliminal messages in your brain. Our show wouldn't be what it was without them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you right now, I'm going to go consume potentially one of them. I'll let you listeners judge. That's all we got. We'll be back next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye.